Hello, everyone. This is the Insomniac GM. Now, for April Fool's Day, a lot of YouTubers like to upload videos where they just clickbait you and trick you into watching a video where they quit YouTube or whatever. But I wanted to give you guys some source of entertainment. Now, I did record an entire April Fool's session. However, I'm not uploading the video. I may, if I have time, put pieces of the video at the end, or the audio at the end. If I do, just be warned that it will be full of a lot of background noises, echoing, and loud noises. Now, the reason why I'm not uploading it is, for one, the game was more us having fun. That was the number one priority, was us having fun. And because of that, we got very sidetracked and we didn't go with the main objective of the game. There was a lot of joking. So I could really cut down the 3 hours of audio for the game into maybe about 25 minutes of gameplay. There was a lot of role playing, but it was funny role playing. So that's one of the reasons. The other reasons are I only had one microphone and it was in an echoey basement because that was the only place I could record it. So the audio came out really poor. Now, some of the players were very quiet while others, my brother, were extremely loud. So when listening to the audio, you would hear like people talking very soft, where you can just hear them. And so my brother, who's naturally a rather loud person, and his voice would be booming. I'd actually look at the audio, and it would spike drastically every time he spoke. But on top of that, there was a lot of background noises. You would hear my fiance upstairs playing Duolingo, and you'd hear the cats roughhousing. So I figured instead of uploading all 3 hours into three different separate videos like I originally wanted to, I figure instead I'll just give you guys a summary of it, and if I have time, I will put the little pieces at the end. Just be warned, the sound's not the best. But so what I did for April Fool's Day was I ran a one shot where the players and I played Octon Cthulhu. Now, the premise of it was an isekai. Now, if you don't know what an isekai is, it's an anime genre where people are transported to an alternate world, usually fantasy. Sometimes it's like a video game fantasy world or whatever. But our twist on it was the people who were transported there aren't just your average, normal, ordinary people. They're all Florida men, the term for people who cause these crazy, crazy crimes. So the players I had I'm not going to go by the players' names, but we had, and I'm sorry if I got the names of your guys' characters wrong. The audio is so echoey, I could only piece together the names, and it's been a while since I've recorded this, so. There's Sherman Woods. So, Sherman Woods was a con artist. The character was designed to be the brains of the group, and he would, the best way I would put how I had him in mind, because these were pre-generated characters, it's kind of like Julian from Trailer Park Boys. The player played the character with like a Kermit the Frog accent, and I gotta say, amongst all the characters, he was kind of like the voice of reason. Like, he would, a lot of the times we were playing, stop and be like, wait, what? What is wrong with you guys? So it brought up some good chemistry. Now, I've mentioned this before. My all-time player I have ever had at my table. Like, I've mentioned him in other stories. I've called him Ford or Grand. He's played in a few of my games, and every time he does, oh my gosh, I love having him at my table. So, when we were going through the pre-generated characters, he came a little later than the other players, and they kept going, well, this character's for him. Oh, wait, no, this character's for him. Wait, no, this one's for him. And they realized he could play all these parts. But what he ended up going with was he played Bernie Boucher. And I don't know if I got the last name correct, but he was a ex-war veteran who keeps reliving his glory days of when he was the quarterback in the high school football team. And he would make sure to tell everyone all the time. And you could just... He was just such a blast. Like, I loved that character. I'm so glad that's the one he played. But, yeah. He was the one who, like, when shit hit the fan, he would, like... He was just so nonchalant about it. He was just, like, very mellow about the situation and would just go along with it. It was great. Now, we also had Ronaldo. Now, Ronaldo, that was my brother. He ended up playing a politician who's on the run. Now, I gotta say, most of the game was Bernie and Sherman bouncing off of each other. So most of the highlights I can talk about are those two. But when it came to Ronaldo, it was very ambiguous on what crime he committed, where the police and that were looking for him. And everyone just like kept trying to press Ronaldo for that information. Like, you just try to blow it off and that. Now, our last one is Tony. Now, the player who was playing Tony was running late. Now, when we were playing the game, we would take 10-minute breaks in between each recording. And we finished our first hour and took our 10-minute break. And he came in right when we were going to start a second. So that's when Tony came in. Now, Tony was playing the mechanic. He was a rather quiet guy. The best way I would describe him from what I was seeing, and I don't know if it's because of the moment he was brought in, it kind of seemed like he was like a very quiet John Wick. Like, he came there to kick ass, take some names, and he didn't have much to say about the situation. So that was our 4 heroes. Now, for the plot of the game, we started it off where the players were all being in the middle of, except Tony, were all being arrested for a crime they were doing. Now, I tried to keep it ambiguous on what they did. I explained it was tax evasion, but I explained that they flooded a Walmart with liquid soap, and there was like a corpse dressed up as George Washington or whatever, and the players just got a laugh out of that. And I know it's not the funniest thing on earth, and it's not really that funny, but it's more of the players I was playing with, because they took that material and they started spinning with it and were laughing, while the players themselves were like, that makes no sense. What? So there was that. Like I said, this group was having a lot of fun, more than anything. But they were transported by transported into a fantasy world, summoned by these elves. Now, the players did not get to learn a whole lot of what was going on in the world because of how much role playing and that we were doing amongst each other rather than the world itself. So I'll give you the information they also didn't get along with the information they did get. So in this world, the elves and the dwarves were at war with each other. And the elves were like struggling to win this war. So they created an artificial race, which would be goblins. Well, when they created these goblins, the goblins had short lifespans. But whenever something died around them, it would absorb the lifespan or the spirit of what they killed. So these things started living a little bit longer, killing the dwarves. And once they made the dwarves extinct, the elves were going to decommission the goblins, but the goblins caught on and fled. Well, the elves started realizing that they could not end up giving birth or anything. And that is because their whole cycle of life is all about reincarnation. And they realized that even when elves were dying, instead of them being reincarnated, their spirit was being trapped inside of the bodies of these goblins. So, in order for these goblins to live longer, they've been kidnapping elven children and slaying them so they can absorb as much of that lifespan as possible. So the elves are hurting on numbers. And the goblins have recently kidnapped a young princess. I think I said 2 years old or something like that. Kidnapped this elven princess. And they were going to sacrifice her. Gather all the goblins, sacrifice her to gain that lifespan so they can live a little longer. Well, the elves have been studying humanity for some time. Now, what they've studied wasn't the best of information. Essentially, what they thought were tomes of like legends of heroes and that were actually stories of Florida men and what they were being arrested for. So when they summoned the players, they summoned them as heroes and asked them for their help. And the players didn't really ask too many questions. They just kind of jumped in to help. And so the players ended up agreeing to help. Well, what they ended up learning with the goblins was the goblins had the ability to manipulate the spiritual energy inside them where they could expend it all from their body to reanimate the corpses of the dwarves in the dwarven caverns. So the players would be fighting the goblins, and one goblin may sacrifice themselves to summon like 5 zombies or whatever. So at this point, when they started fighting the goblins and zombies, that's when Tony came. He came in, guns blazing and all that. We explained that Tony has always been there. He was summoned long ago, and just with how silent he is, he just kind of walked away as soon as they summoned him. So as the game went on, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of role-playing with the world, per se. So because of that, there was just a lot of joking amongst each other and in character and all that. I'm talking about their life experiences and that. It ended up leading to them eventually finding out with the goblins that the goblins were going to die eventually. And they learned that they were clones and all that. So the group had a discussion. And they got to the point where the elves and the goblins were face to face. And they had a discussion on what to do And what they ended up deciding was, you know what? Both of them are the bad guys. Let's just kill them all. So they ended up blowing up the dwarven mines. And the lava started spewing out and filling. Well, I had the group start making rolls, and they split up. And I wasn't trying to screw the players over, but players started taking momentum and to help themselves succeed, and kept rolling so bad to the point where I ran out of momentum. And with how they just kept failing, nobody remembered you could buy momentum. That's something we all forgot at this point. I think we were all too much into it. But after failing numerous times, it was like, okay, this is your last one. You guys need 3 successes in that, and nobody could succeed. So because of that, everybody ended up dying. Now, although we did have a sad ending and everybody died, good guys, bad guys, elves, goblins, dwarves, zombies, the Florida men, all of them, we all did have a blast. And I did create some fans of the 2D20 system. But I wish I had more to tell you guys about this game, but like I said, I was a lot more focused on us trying to have fun than anything. And the fact that we all haven't really gotten to sit down and play with each other in a game, and I mean, 2 of my players, I haven't gotten to play with them in like maybe 2 years. You know, it was kind of like not only a game of us having fun, but a game of catching up. So I'm hoping next year on April Fool's Day I can run another just comical game. And maybe this time I'll have better quality audio or a lot more of an interesting story, something I can split up into more parts. But I had a blast with this game, and all the players at the table had a blast too. So if you guys are watching who were players in it, thank you guys for joining me, and I appreciate everything. So, and I also want to thank my fans too. You know, I know I haven't been doing a great job uploading, and I just want to tell you I appreciate you all. And I'll see you guys again next time. Take care.